Hello and welcome to a brand new transmission. Today is November 4th. It is morning here in Florida. And my name is Sanda. I am a conscious channeler, multidimensional channeler. Multidimensional means that I channel beings, either what we will call extraterrestrial, but also angelic beings from pretty much different dimensions. I can also channel higher selves, which would be in the fourth dimension and in the higher levels of the fourth dimension, and everything that is above that. And I have a big smile on my face because I feel the presence of the angels around me. They're very loving. They make me smile. They make me laugh all the time. It is a laugh of joy. It is a laugh of love. And so I would often tear up because of this. There is so much happiness and so much peace and so much enthusiasm also at different occasions that they are bringing into my life. I am extremely grateful for getting to feel them first and foremost. Many people are asking me, how do I channel? I am not a trance channeler. I am, and I've never prepared for channeling. I am conscious, at least semi-conscious, when I channel. However, I do not always remember everything they're saying. It really depends on the dimension of the entities that are coming through. But I do have my boundaries to where I am very aware of who is coming through at this time. And I do not allow any other entity that it's not in service of light to come through. What I have realized is that channeling is something that you can do. We can all do. It is not just reserved for the few. Everybody can channel. We can channel our own angels, which I feel very, very deeply connected with right now. We can channel our own higher self. We can channel different entities. However, in my own experience, I'm channeling entities or collectives of entities which are connected with me, or I'm connected with them at a different level, at a different dimension. And they have brought lots of love, lots of interesting information towards my mind, which translates this information. The channeling, it's sent through well, I feel them. So the messages come directly as states of being. I wouldn't even call them emotions as we understand them. So my states of being are the states of channeling, but I also come in this light language, and the light language is the language that my mind does not fully understand. At times I can translate it into English or Romanian in words that humans can understand, including myself. However, many times the light language transmissions are offered specifically for a purpose to bypass the human mind. They are saying that this is very important because if we get to fully understand what they're saying, our minds will put barriers. Our minds will start to analyze and to either approve or deny certain information that's coming through. And therefore, it is so important to bypass it, pretty much. There are different types of light language. We can channel light language through images, just like the one behind me. as you can see, this is not channeled by me, but it's channeled for me by one of my dear soul sisters and friends, who is also a very established and very, very deep channel. And so we can channel also through sounds. We can channel through vibration, which is the oldest form of communication that we know here on Earth, but not only here. It is the way that extraterrestrial beings and other beings at different dimensions are communicating with one another. And so vibration goes beyond the sound. However, it can be also expressed in sounds. What I have been channeling often are words, sounds, even melodies, which I fully feel. However, I don't understand. But I do feel the vibration from which they are transmitted. And by receiving this vibration, I'm actually receiving the healing or whatever message it is meant to come through. And so the key here is to let our minds be quiet, to pretty much guide our minds to become in our service, to become followers and great submissive, in a way, tools of ours. And that means that we are not the minds. Yes, I'm not my mind, and neither are you. And also, I'm not this body, and neither are you. In fact, I am a non-physical being that is having different experiences right now at different levels, which are dimensions. So at different dimensions. So right now, here on Earth, I am in this body, and I'm going to be in this body for a while now because we have work to do. However, and the same applies to you. You are physical beings in these physical bodies. If you look in the mirror, you're going to identify yourself with that, as well as with all the other information that you've been given throughout this physical experience from what you can remember. However, it is important for us to understand that this is just kind of like a role we chose to play in this magnificent holographic game that happens here on Earth at this time. Games like this, well, not quite like this, but similar to this, are happening at the same time on different planets. Now, we can play the game being fully incarnated in physical bodies, which happens all the way to the 5th dimension. However, we also play games in non-physicality. So we are light bodies in different dimensions from the 6th dimension and higher. We would be in light bodies, in just energy bodies. And we also play different games, which are not necessarily holographic, because here, we have this physical bodies, and we just to understand with our human minds, holographic, as we see at Disney World or Disneyland or like Universal, holographic bodies are just pretty much light bodies that you can put your hand through, right? And so we are holograms, but we are more than that. Even though we perceive ourselves as being physical, we are really not. We're made of small particles which come together to serve the purpose of this game and the roles that we planned on playing here. I am very aware that what I'm saying at this point cannot be scientifically proven. However, quantum physics and quantum mechanics, they are coming closer and closer to bringing to the very analytical human minds more and more proofs as of right now. So while we are fully enjoying these experiences here on Earth and waiting for science to catch up with really what's going on, we keep evolving, and we keep remembering, all of us as humanity. as the collective called humanity. We keep evolving, we keep remembering all this information, and it is fascinating. And I take it, I receive it as a blessing, that I am connecting with more and more beings, human beings, who are in this process, at different levels of this process of remembering. Yes, so we're unveiling this knowledge of who we really are. We are unveiling our identities, our true identities, well, part of our true identities, yes, because we are much more than we can ever conceive with this human minds. So here is how it goes, pretty much. The more space we make in this consciousness, it's like, here's how I see it. Imagine that there is a silver shining channel, kind of like a tube, that it's connecting us with the higher dimensions, with the higher consciousness, with the higher self, which is kind of coordinating many of the souls. So to give you a perspective, I will say that each higher self has 12 souls, which it kind of overlooks 12 souls, yes? And so these 12 souls can be at the same time incarnated here on Earth, but they can also be incarnated at different dimensions. They can be incarnated in Agartha, which is like underneath the Earth civilization, or like Lemuria, which exists in Telos, which is underneath Mount Shasta. We can be incarnated. These 12 souls, yes, are actually one higher self. And so the higher self is the coordinator, and it's the resource giver. It's kind of like the control tower in an airport, but it is controlling at the same time what's happening above in the sky, but also what's happening on the ground, the traffic on the ground, yes? And so so we are 12 souls, and this, usually it's one soul per body, but it doesn't have to be always that way. It can be a soul without a body, yes, or it can be rarely it happens to be the other way. They're saying that rarely it happens that one body can be the host of more than one soul. However, it is possible. And so we are souls, yes, living in these physical bodies. And so at this level, we must also understand that having this experience in the physical body now and on Earth, it's not random. Us coming from a higher dimension, we have decided to come here to help to be in service at this time for the changes which are happening on this planet. I will say this: we love this planet very, very much. We are in service of it. It has put an SOS, it has put a distress signal a while back out in the universe, and we have come here to be of service, and out of love we've done this. And so yes, there are many amounts of information that are coming through at this moment. However, our minds as channelers, as channels, are meant to kind of sift through it, right? So I was saying, imagine that there is this channel of light, like I see it as a silver, white, bright, beautiful light, that it's always connecting the soul that empowers this body with the higher self, which, like I was saying, is the strategist, is the coordinator. It is not a player at the level that the souls are players. However, it is a player in the strategy game, yes? And so the higher self is the one that is giving us all the resources that we need. in order to play this role, in order to play this game. And so that's why it is very important to, one, acknowledge that there is a higher self, and two, connect with it. But here is the key. Do we want to connect with our higher selves, and receive the instructions clearly and receive the resources that we need from the perspective of the identity of soul? Am I going to connect with my higher self as identifying with soul, or am I going to connect with my higher self as identifying with human mind? Yes, because if we really pay attention to how the structure it's been shown, it's like there is the physical body, which is the most dense part of my identity at this point, of our identity at this point. Yes, so they gave me the example of the Russian dolls. The smallest doll in the middle, the most dense one, the one that doesn't open up, so it's not empty inside. It's usually made out of wood, so it's solid wood. So it's the densiest part of us. So that's the physical body. The physical body, it's surrounded by another doll, which is our emotional body. Yes, which from the physical body, all the other layers on the outside form the soul. Now, the soul also penetrates this body, because that's why we have life in it. We are life beings. We are alive, but that's because something empowers us. Yes, and something that powers this body. It's like a battery, so to speak. I'm just trying to find words to express this in the best possible way, so then the human minds really understand it. And so imagine the way it's been shown to me is that the heart, but not the heart as the organ that pumps blood, but the heart is the energy center, the chest. Yes, it's the portal. It's the main portal which connects us to soul. So imagine that this small doll in the Russian dolls has like this circle here, so to speak, yes, that allows it to somehow connect with the outside bodies. And so these outside bodies are actually powering that dense body. And that's exactly what's happening with us. I hope it makes sense. So we are powered, yes, as personalities and identities as humans. Like, for example, I, as in Sanda, with my experiences in this lifetime, with this physical body, with everything that I am connecting to my higher self through this portal. So it's through the heart. But first, before I get to the higher self on this path, I'm connecting with soul. So I understand that the soul is the one that's actually powering me. And so I even went further and I said, you know what, I'm not going to identify so much with the physical part of who I am, as I know I am soul. I am this reflection of the higher self. So for me, identity is very clear. I am identifying with the soul called Sanda, who powers and lives, so to speak, in this body and around this body, having this particular human experience. And I hope that this makes sense. So I don't identify anymore more than maybe 10% only with the physicality of Sanda. But I do identify with the non-physicality, with the soul called Sanda. I hope this makes sense, and I'm inviting you to contemplate on this information and see if really you identify with the physical part of you, which is whatever name was given to you, if you were baptized or by your godparents or by your parents or whomever. And how much of your identification is with all the personality and character traits which have been also given to you and formed for you throughout this life, and how much you actually identify with a non-physical, non-invisible, so to speak, part of you. So that's the first question. Who am I? Am I identifying with this physical body, with this personality traits, with who I was formed to be? Formed by what? Formed by my experiences, but also in the first 7 years of my life, formed by my parents' experiences, my grandparents, and all the society that I've been exposed to. Yes. So how much of you are identifying with that which is given to you, which is put upon you, and how much of you are identifying with soul? And so what I started doing throughout the last couple of years, I started giving percentages to these two parts of me. Yes. That I initially identify with. There are these two parts. There is the physical part, which has to do with my name, with my personality here on earth in this particular lifetime. And then there is the non-physical part, which has to do with so much more. The non-physical part, which I call soul, it's the part that knows me, because it's the same soul. Yes, it's soul. It knows me as Sanda. That has lived numerous lives on earth or somewhere else. So this soul, the more we start identifying with soul, the more we uncover, unveil, remember many other things about our previous experiences here on earth. And not only because this soul, in my case, it doesn't have to have lived only on earth. It depends on how old the soul is. Yes. It depends from which higher self it's coming, and then higher than that from which spirit it's coming, and then higher than that from which light realms of light it's coming, and then higher than that from which vibrational realms it's coming, and so forth. There are different levels at which this game can be played. Yes. And when I say this game, it's not necessarily this particular game, but there are different games just like this or similar to this. And so it is important, as I was saying, to make space for this identity to take place. In other words, for people who are very, very strong in their identification with the humanity part of themselves, yes, they just believe that they are this body, this mind, this rationale, this name, this social function, family role, and that's it, which forms a lot of our population at this time. If you're one of them, and you're just kind of coming to the idea that, yes, we may have souls, because you've heard in your religion about it, or because you've heard others talking about it. So, but you mostly identify, let's say 95% with physical aspects, and only 5% with the vague idea of a soul. Then in order for you to fully unveil who you really are, you must go through this process of less and 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 less identification with the physicality of you, with the personality aspects of you, and more, step by step, percentage by percentage, with the non-physical. So this may take time. For some people, it will take a while. For some people, it may happen in a quantum leap. And this is what's happening usually with people who have been going through experiences such as being in a coma and then having this out-of-body experiences, or people who have been through accidents and have died, and they come back. Yes, they came back. So when they died, they found out this information. They realized that, wait a second, I'm not the body that I can see on a hospital bed or whatever. I'm actually the observer and life giver of that body. So I can choose to go back into that body and repower that body if I want. But I am more than that. I'm different than that. I'm pure energy. I'm pure soul. And so but that's not necessary anymore. Those experiences are not necessary anymore. We can have quantum leaps of awakening and awareness differently. What happened to me, it was through divine grace. In other words, I woke up one morning, and I started kind of putting together kind of like the pieces of a puzzle. Or if you know those books for children where you're connecting the dots, that's exactly how it was. I started putting together certain events, certain things that have happened in my childhood that were showing me that I may be something more than just the human Sanda. And it was just based on different experiences. So all of a sudden, I found myself in front of this big puzzle. So this puzzle started kind of presenting itself. But more than that, I didn't really have to do much to find the pieces of my life's puzzle so far started moving themselves, and I would just be the observer. And this beautiful image of the fact that I was and I am more than what I thought initially came into my awareness. And once that happened, it was like there's no turning back. Once you start remembering, there is no turning back. More and more pieces of this puzzle are going to be revealed to you. And of course, there are people like me who are meant to be here to help others in this process, not to force them in this process, but just to offer support to them in this process, because it can be a very uncomfortable, very scary process for many of us, including myself, who have been used to identifying ourselves only with the human ego, with the human personality. All of a sudden, to uncover that we are more than that, and that there is a whole different world out there, can be scary, as we have been programmed to, at an ego level, to be scared of the unknown. Yes. And to deny everything, that it's not tangible, that it's not material, that it's not realistic, as we were told. However, I am very thrilled to notice that more and more and more human beings are waking up and making more and more and more space to allow themselves to find who they really are and align with this identity of soul. So I got to the point where I'm not even saying that I have a soul. I don't have a soul. I am soul. I am a soul having a body, having a human experience at this time on planet Earth, which I now call Gaia mostly. And so that identity, I am soul. That means, because the I am part of this phrase, I am soul, the I am part, I can break it down, and that's why I've been studying Neville, because it makes total sense. I represents the human, the human ego, the human personality, the human mind, everything that I've identified with in this particular life. Yes, that's the I. That forms the ego, which is not a bad thing. We need these egos. However, we don't want the I in the ego, yes, the ego, we don't want it to rule this experience. It's a very vital part of me and of this experience. I couldn't have this experience without the I in the I am. Yes. So our egos, I know that many people are now presenting the ego as something bad. It is not bad. It is just grown out of proportion for many of us, because it has been fed so many things like, oh, I strong, I self-sufficient, I you know, needing to prove myself, I. So this ego has been blown out of proportion for many humans, and that's what it means, making space. Make the ego smaller to have space for the rest of us. Yes. So I is not a bad thing. It is an essential part. People, many who are talking about this, they're calling this duality. The I will be the human part of the self. The M is the higher part of ourselves. And yes, I understand the duality, and I agree to it to a certain point, but I think we are a trinity. I think we are a trinity, not a duality. Dual, right, means two parts of ourselves. I think we are, yes, we have four bodies at the human level, and I'll talk to you about that. But I think we're a trinity in the way that there is the human personality, the human aspect, the human ego. The M represents our divine self, which goes beyond the soul. Yes, like I was saying, here is soul. There are 12 souls incarnated at different levels, but there is the higher self that it's coordinating the soul's experiences. But also, this higher self, it's part of other higher selves that it's God coordinated, or more like they're under this bigger umbrella, which is called spirit. And I understand that in human, well, in English language, let's put it this way, I understand that in human English language, many times we are thinking the soul and spirit are the same thing, but they're not from levels of light perspective. The soul is the lower part of the non-physical that powers physical bodies. The spirit, it's a much higher part of who we really are. And so we're talking here, leaving the spirit aside, we're talking here about souls. Yes. So I'm saying each higher self has 12 souls. Each of the 12 souls could or could not be incarnated at this time. But it doesn't change the fact that there are 12. Yes. So in order to identify ourselves with being a soul powering this body, we need to make space for that identification to happen. It will happen naturally. The light that we are as souls will come through naturally once we make space for it. And by making space, I mean exactly what I said, identifying less and less with the human aspects, with the human personality, with the human ego, and identifying more and more with the soul. Yes? So once we do that, like I said, at first, let's say that this connection is 100%. So we have the I am soul. Yes, that's the Trinity. So let's say that at first, a human being that it's not awakened at all believes 100% that it is this physical body, physical mind, physical aspects of its life. However, the more we start awakening, this 100% identification with the physicality starts switching from 100 to, let's say, 95, and then 90, and then 85, and then 80. And then at in my level right now, I identify, let's say, 10 to 20% with the physical body, with the physical mind, with the physical personality. The more we make space for the soul, who we are, to come into the leadership role of this experience, the more we become less focused on trivial issues such as food, such as political, financial, such like all these systems that have been grounded us not necessarily in the best earth energies. Yes, we separate from those more and more, and we care about them. They come into our attention less and less. So this is what's happening to many of us. Since I was born, I didn't care for food as most humans do. So I had this, like I was saying, I started connecting dots when I woke up one morning, because I realized that for me, this has been a call to identify with soul all my life. But some of us are just, waking up to this now. So we realize that, okay, well, I am soul, and I have this trinity that I am. It's the human part, the physical part. It's the light, truth, and love, which is expressed by the higher levels of consciousness, higher than soul. And then it brings me, it's kind of like this. It's coming from the bottom. I am, okay, see my hand. I am soul. Yes? And the soul will be, see if that makes sense. I'm going to draw it. It's going to be an I am soul. So if I draw this, it's actually kind of like that. Let's see, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work because of my, maybe, here we go. Yeah, it's just the background, but that's okay. So it's not quite a triangle. It's not quite a triangle. So it will be I, and then M goes all the way up, and then soul comes here. So it's not making a triangle. It's actually more of spiral. I am soul. And we're always going through this, I am soul, I am soul, I am soul. And we're revisiting that concept. So it's very interesting that this information is coming to more and 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 more human beings at this time, being encouraged to start not believing others, right? I'm not saying you should believe what I'm saying at all. I'm saying you should start contemplating on it. That's it. Start contemplating on it, but not contemplating on it at the I level, at the human mind, human analytical mind level, because obviously it's not a logical thing based on everything we've been taught or everything we remember at this moment in time, based on the scientific proof that we have at this moment in time in humanity. What I'm saying cannot be proven. So if your mind at the I level, at the human personality level, is saying, well, I'm waiting for empirical evidence, we're not quite there yet. As the collective, as humanity, we're not there being able to prove this. It doesn't mean we're not going to be there soon or at certain point, but we're not there yet. And so contemplate on it, not from physical self aspect, because if you do so, then you cannot go further. because you're going to be stuck. You're going to be stuck with like, well, this makes no sense and there is no empirical evidence for it. So I'm just going to give up. And that's it. So I'm saying contemplate on it instead in meditation, in the state of introspection, but not necessarily mental analytical introspection, but opening your heart introspection. Because I was saying the heart is the portal. See how this feels to you rather than how this sounds to you. Yes, it may sound crazy as it did to me. However, I have been very blessed. I came into this lifetime with a couple of things that I consider blessings. One, I am very capable of recognizing the truth. And I'm not talking about the human truth, the human collective truth. I'm talking about the universal truth. I'm talking about the absolute truth. For example, the first time in my life when I listened to an Abraham Hicks transmission, I got goosebumps and my legs vibrated. I didn't know at that point what it was. And I didn't know that those physical signs are going to be big signs for me to keep in mind when I move forward in my life, because those are the signs that I recognize truth with. But I did know that what I'm hearing is the truth. So I didn't put together the physical reactions of my body to show me the truth, but I just knew that whatever Abraham was saying, something that I just identified with right away, I recognized that as being the absolute truth. And so for this universe, for this experience, yes, it was the truth for me at that point. That was 20 years ago. Meanwhile, I've learned, that there are physical aspects of it. And it's so very interesting. It's so very complex, but it's also quite simple at the same time. It's not complicated. It's just complex. So the more we make space, meaning the less we identify with the human self, the more we start recognizing truth, absolute truth. There is no way to deny the truth, that it's absolute. So what I'm saying is contemplate and discern based on your own heart what is truth and what is not. So I'm not telling you listen to me or listen to others like me. I am telling you get deep within yourself, and the mind is going to fight this. Your mind is going to fight this. That's why meditation is key, because the mind is going to kick in and is going to say, oh my God, this woman is crazy. You know very well who you are. You're a human being. You should, follow the societal rules. You should follow everything you've known so far, everything you've identified with throughout this life, everything that everybody does around. Follow what my parents told me it's real, what my like country, the society, the group from which I identify that I'm a part of. So I totally understand what difficulties you can encounter, because I've been there. There are many of my friends who think I'm nuts. My family too. Some of them, the truth resonated with them so deeply right away. And they said, like my mom, they said, no, you're not crazy. I feel this as being the truth. The mind will come and try to bring arguments like why I think it's true, why I don't think it's true. But this is not a mind's job to discern. True discernment, it's done based on the love that it's allowed to come through the heart. So the more we make space, the more love comes to us. Why? Because the soul state of being, it's pure, unconditional, complete, abundant love. So everything else that we feel throughout these experiences in this particular time and space on planet Earth, in this particular lives, everything else that we feel, all the range of emotions, yes, because we have access to a whole range of emotions. Everything else has to do with the I. While the M and the soul are connected with complete, absolute love, which if we go in the spiral, yes, we can see a triangle spiral, and that's okay too. We'll connect with, if we go in the spiral and we get back to the I, because we have to pass by the I, yes, we're going to, it will manifest as compassion, understanding, empathy, with no desire of an outcome. So I'm not trading compassion for something. I'm not helping people now so I can get something in return for it. I'm helping not to go to heaven, not to be helped as well when I need to. I am just helping. This is the real alignment with the state of love. Yes, I'm showing compassion and I'm just helping based on who I am. That's it. With nothing else connected to it. Because this is coming from the heart. This is the only real state of being that it's in alignment with soul and with the M. Yes? So once we get to actually express this in the I world, in the I reality here as humans incarnated on Earth, that's when we are truly enlightened human beings. Because that's when we fully identify with who we really are, which is soul, part of the higher levels. Yes? So I created this video because it took me a while to, first of all, understand all this. And because I know that some of you at this point need this clarity, because I myself have been struggling for a while to make the real connection between the I am and soul. And so by creating this spiral, by creating this clarity in my mind, things have become so much easier for me. I understand, just as Abraham Hicks kept saying for the longest time, to go into vortex. I understand what the vortex is. I also understand, as they were saying, that we cannot stay in the vortex forever as human beings incarnated here. However, we can learn to enjoy the contrast. Because yes, between the I and the M and the soul, and every time we do this in the triangle spiral way, we're going to go through all of them. Every time we go through all of them, we will feel the contrast. There is a contrast. There's an energy contrast between identifying with the I, with the human, with the density of the human body and the human reality, and identifying with the M, which is the lightest of the lightest of the lightest, the purest, most divine part of us, which is our true essence. That's the M. So there's a huge contrast between identifying with the I and identifying with the M. And then we have the soul, which is a small but important for us aspect of the M, but not quite right equal with the I. It powers the I. So every time we have this triangular spiral, we will go through each of these points again and again and again and again and again and again. And living through this contrast without being affected by them. Understanding the I, understanding the M at the level that we can, but connecting through the heart with the M. And also understanding and connecting with the soul through the heart as well. I think that this is the key to harmony. Understanding that we will be exposed to these contrasts. However, receiving this exposure with open heart, with joy, with appreciation, with understanding that this is just a holographic game meant to have these contrasting experiences here. And then by channeling different aspects of my higher self, and then even spirit self, and also channeling different entities, as I was saying at the beginning, the picture became clearer and clearer. The aspects of self, the big S, yes, the self that corresponds in my case with the M, the aspects of self are so numerous, are so complex. And so, yes, I'm playing this game at this Sanda soul level here, which is amazing. It's really cool. But that's not the only thing I am. So the more I open up to this new identity for me, yes, because 2 years ago I was not thinking of these things, the more joy and love and enthusiasm for this life with its contrasts I feel. So I wanted to tell you this because I know many of you are going through a similar path. Many of you, at least those who are drawn towards this message. And so it is a metaphysical explanation. It has a lot to do with sacred geometry, yes. I look forward to our science to start showing this. Maybe not in the way that I see it in the field, maybe in a different way, but showing this concept. So then people start with their human minds start being less and less reluctant to receiving this, because we are all called at this time to make space, to identify with this identity of soul, coming from the big M, coming from the big self, which is the divine. Yes, so we are the soul in a different word, in a different way of saying it. The soul, it's a fractal of the M, and the I, it's also a fractal of the soul. So what we are here, the I am soul identity, it's really the divine exploring itself at the human level here on Gaia. Thank you. They are pleased. They are pleased. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you tuning in to this channel transmission, as I have realized that Ah, many of my courses that I have written and offered in the last decade almost um, have been channeled courses. So channeling can be in any possible way. You can channel through music, you can channel through dance, you can channel through images, you can channel through sculpture and painting, you can channel through vibrational sounds, you can channel through words, obviously. It's fantastic. So I'm offering many blessings to you. Thank you again.